Hello everyone. I'm just going to read this real quick and then I'm going to upload it. I'm going to read this stuff real quick and then I'm going to upload it. So I will be titling this under dramatic reading. So growing up, I had a friend who said his family didn't let him or his siblings ever buy red shoes. He said his parents thought the color red was sinful. His parents are fucking never butters. How did you get your hair so shiny? My sister's friend always came to school with really shiny hair. One day my sister asked her how her hair was so shiny. Was like that. Fuck off. Her friend said that her mom didn't let her use shampoo, ever. They might not have been able to afford it, sorry. When I was in first or second grade, I was at a friend's house and forgot to turn off the light. When I left the bathroom, my friend's dad lost it. He cussed me out, made me stand in the corner, and wouldn't let me leave until I wrote, "I will not forget to turn off the lights" 100 times. That was my first and last time going to that friend's house. I'm sorry that if I heard that my child's friend's dad did that, I would go kick down his door and I would beat his face in so hard that he would die. Okay, you don't do that to my child. Because I'm the only one who can yell at my child. We will also be reading this one too. This will not take me long. In second grade, second grade, I went to my neighbor's birthday party. I ate 2/3 of a hot dog and tossed the rest. My friend said literally made me eat out of the garbage can. He stopped the party, picked it up, handed it to me. Got this wild-eyed stare, looked at me in the face and screamed how he worked for that. He could afford to lose 35 cents of chicken toes and pork salts, but apparently, the insult from an 8-year-old was too grave for him to accept. I don't know, looked at him in the face and said, "What the fuck you gonna do, nigga? What the fuck you gonna do if I don't? Huh? Ban me from your house? Ban me from talking to your kid? Oh no! Ban me from talking to your kid, who's already a brat! Who's, yeah, very nice, but, if you're gonna act like that, I'm not gonna fucking be his friend anymore." I'm like that. I noticed all the rooms in my friend's house could only be locked from the outside of the room. I thought this only existed in horror movies. If it's yellow, it's mellow. I was friends with a girl who didn't come from a very clean home. There were always clothes in a huge pile on her bathroom floor. For some unknown reason, no one in the family ever flushed the toilet. They would sit and go and then leave. Every once in a while, the bowl got too full. Someone would try to flush, but sometimes it would get backed up and overflow. Getting into the clothes on the floor. 9 times out of 10, they would kick these clothes and then just leave the scene. They constantly bought new clothes. This is the worst. The worst thing was all completely normal though. Okay. I don't come in your house and complain I don't come in your house and bitch and moan about how your house is. So I don't expect, and I expect you to give me the same courtesy. That I don't come in and bitch and moan about your house. So don't come in and bitch and moan about my house. That's how I feel. She just needed a Band-Aid. When I was 11 years old, I had a friend who lived in a really big house. Who lived in a really big house in my neighborhood. They were never allowed to go to her house outside or in. One day we were riding our bikes and I fell right by her house. I insisted we get napkins from inside and clean my car. She was really weird about it. I only went into the kitchen, but I saw that there was a mysterious looking door that was closed. She opened it, yelled that I was in the house. Her mom came in, very pretty woman, wearing a silk robe. She told us to hurry up, and we went on our way. 3 months later, the news were running a legal service out of the house. Both parents went to jail, and my friend lived to Florida with her grandma. I can't imagine what her life was like during that afterwards. Oh yeah, they were running an illegal prostitution ring, probably. Yeah, a true delicacy. My neighbor took a stick of butter and started dipping it into a canister of Kool-Aid. After licking all the Kool-Aid off the butter, she repeated it over and over as if it was a fun dip candy. It skeeved me out. I declined generously when she offered me some. His older sisters were there, and they said they did that all the time. Hang on. Back. Nigga. To delicacy. Do they live in a barn? Fuck you. I went to a friend's house and you could hardly breathe when I stepped through the front door. There were like 20 dogs and cats and would just go. The smell of ammonia was so strong I could barely breathe. It was so bad, all the floorboards were soaked and rotted. Okay, listen here. Shut the fuck up. People have addictions. And animals were their addiction. So you shut the fuck up before someone shuts you up. Atari 26 Trump's dirty shoes. I used to hang out with a kid whose family didn't have a litter box for their cat. So they would just pick up the cat. They would just pick up the cats. They didn't pick up the cats to do. One reason I went. The only reason I went over there was they had an Atari 2600. I always came home with cat doo-doo on the bottom of my shoes. Well, one day, that's one way to embarrass a child. I grew up on a street with this family of four. There was a mom, dad, and son that was my age. And an adopted son, like 6 years younger than the son's age was pretty. The son, my age, is pretty quiet and a little odd, but definitely full functioning. One day, the mom approached me and asked if I could babysit them over the summer. I was 13 years old at the time. When I got there, both the boys were there about an hour, and I realized I had been hired to babysit both of them. I would try to make it less weird by making it like the two of us were babysitting his brother. But when he'd do weird stuff like ask if he could play his video games and if he could stay up past his bedtime to finish a movie or something, He even addressed me as Mister. I was a little uncomfortable, especially since I had a class with him at school. Okay. I'm not gonna say it's your fault for not understanding autism, really. And I'm not gonna say, and it's not your fault for not being able to understand why he was doing that. But mentally, he was probably like 5 or 6 years old. So I'm gonna be nice and just give you the benefit of the doubt on that. In primary school, I was involved in an out-of-school program that required traveling to another local school because my parents worked during the day. They arranged for me to be picked up by the mother of another children in my class. We went back to their place where I waited for my mom to pick me up. One time, while I was waiting, her son picked up a book, and his mother turned to him and said, "I've told you about touching your stepfather's stuff." She then grabbed him by the ear, pulled him over to his bedroom, shoved him, and locked the bedroom door from the outside with a heavy bolt. I can remember hearing him scream from the other side of the door. I can't remember exactly what she said to me, but it was something along the lines of, "This is the way it has to be." I told my parents I never got a lift from them again. Also, a few months later, he was removed from his parents after he set fire to his bedroom. A surgeon with low standards for cleanliness. Fuck you, nigga. I stayed at this girl's house on a school night. We had both taken a bath. They told me to go first, but I was playing with one of her toys and said I'd go last. Little did I know, they used the same bathwater, all 7 of them. I got pushed to the end of the line, and when my turn was up, the water was brown. I mean, no longer transparent. I cried, called my mom, and then they ran me up. I thought it was really I thought they were just really poor. But no, the dad was an orthopedic surgeon. Yeah. He didn't get rich by not using the same bathwater, bitch. Fuck you and your wasteful properties. Fuck you and your wasteful shit. When I was around 8 years old, there was a girl in my neighborhood who hardly anyone ever saw outside of school. She was maybe a year younger than me. I tried talking to her a few times. She was very, very shy. She was never allowed at other kids' houses. Reasonable, I guess. There were a lot of questionable people in her town. However, no one was allowed over at her house either. Not even in her yard or on the driveway. This was because, in her words, her parents didn't like kids. Okay. One of my friends managed to see into their house. Apparently, all the furniture was covered in plastic, and everything was very dark. We went maybe a month without seeing her outside of school, which was normal. One weekend, my friend saw her walking on the sidewalk. She told us that her father had died, and her mom told her that his health deteriorated after he ate some crayons that he didn't. After that, told her that his health deteriorated after he ate some crayons that she didn't clean up, and that it was her fault for not cleaning up well enough. She lived in the same house until after high school. She hardly ever spoke, and when she did, it was just a whisper. If I weren't just close, I probably would have said something to someone. So does that mean her dad... Oh, that means her dad was, not mentally... Probably wasn't even mentally old enough to have kids. Okay, setting a great example for children. When I was 8 years old, I took a month-long trip to Alabama. Who wants to go to Alabama? To visit my friend and his family. His parents were extremely Catholic. I had never been exposed to a prayer before, so when they had me sit down and pray to the rosary with them every night, I had no idea what was going on. Poor girl must have been so embarrassed. I had a friend at school no one ever saw inside of her house. Whenever we hung out, it was always at someone else's house. If we came by to pick her up to go somewhere, we were never invited in and had to wait outside until she was ready. My other friends and I were always convinced that her parents did some sort of top secret government work like that. One time, one of our friends dropped her off and they had to use the bathroom really. She had no choice but to let them in. It turns out her parents were hoarders and she had stacks of papers everywhere. That was likely why no one was ever allowed inside. Very strange, damaging ritual. Okay. Not really weird, but I remember my friend's parents used to let my friend eat a 40-pack of tidbits every day. He was super thin, so he was blessed with that in a sense, but I found it odd. It was almost like a ritual. Good, clean, educational fun. Okay, one of my friend's parents used to give me homework to do. I'd go to her house and her mom would have math or English assignment made up for us to do. My friend's dad was a programmer. He had rigged their PC so you had to answer some random math problems before it would fully boot. Even as a guest, I was not exempt. And no one said anything. My mom had a childhood friend whose father had a glass eye and would throw it in the bathtub with her while she was taking a bath. Maybe they were in the witness protection program. I was buddies with the next door neighbor, Kevin. We were the youngest in the neighborhood. No one else would play with us. His parents worked both 9-to-5 jobs, and I remember them being very nice. I wasn't allowed in their house because they didn't let anyone in. One time I had to go to the bathroom, and he let me in. Every single doorway in the house was curtain covered. They had made a fake hallway at the right entrance so you couldn't see the living room or the kitchen. I asked him why they were there, and he said his parents liked privacy. So they ate nothing but fast food. I remember the first time he had supper at his house, he was shocked to telling my mom that he didn't have a cooked meal, that she didn't have to cook her meal just because he came over. They moved away when I was 11 years old. I remember he couldn't tell me where they were going or why. He couldn't give me another to keep in touch, and he never called me. It was so sad. Oh, Yeah, they were in wet sack or something. Incredible. They poured their unfinished drinks, milk, juice, soda back in their containers just to save money. Shut the fuck up. I would have thrown my backpack at her too. In the middle of school, I was friends with one kid whose mom had a serious self-esteem and projection issues. I remember one day she picked us up from school because my own mother was out and proceeded to ask her son everything he ate that day. When he admitted to buying fries during lunch, she proceeded to scream at him, calling him an unhealthy pig and almost sobbing at the very idea he might get fat, despite the fact that my friend was literally the most active and physical fit player on the baseball team. If this wasn't awkward enough, she stared at me directly in the eye and said, "See, Evan, if you get fat, and the only wife you can find is a girl like her." I threw my backpack at her, and Evan wasn't allowed to hang out with her. I practically told my mother, and partially because I told my mother about this nutcase. Ooh. Time to call Mom. I went to a friend's house and he wanted to go to the nearby playground. His mom told us that we'd have to wait until she finished with whatever she was doing. My friend pulled over a chair, stood on it, and slapped his mother straight across the face. She was quiet for 2 seconds and said, "Okay, get your coat. I'm no longer friends with that kid." Yeah. I visited a kid who lived in a house a few bus stops away from mine. Ever seen a hoarder's house? It was messy and the entire family slept in the mudroom on a futon bunk bed in the kitchen. You walked about a foot through a foot of trash and dishes that were literally stacked up on the ceiling. And it was only when I got older I realized I should have probably told my parents or a teacher. It was loaded with cockroaches. A couple of friends down the street had just moved from across country and they were dipping on ones. One time my friend put a box of Raisin Bran into his bowl for breakfast and it was loaded with cockroaches. He proceeded to remove each cockroach with his hand and poured milk in the bowl he needed. I freaked out and his dad came in and basically told me not to be a little bitch. Well, don't be a little bitch. Possibly afraid of backlash. My friend's family never finished their drinks. They always stopped drinking before it was empty. I never understood why. They always would avoid a question when I asked. The nightmares I had about those cups. Why didn't they just finish their drinks like normal human beings? Why don't you just go fucking kill yourself, bro? I'm joking, guys. I'm joking, okay? Don't report this video because I said that. You can go fuck yourself if this video gets reported. No water until you finish your broccoli? Why? My best friend's family invited me to stay for dinner one night when I was 12 years old. We sat down for dinner. I asked if I could have some milk or some water with my meal. They said no. No one was allowed to drink anything while they ate their meals. They all had to wait until their plates were clean before they could drink. remained my best friends here, but I never eat dinner at their house again. They also had 9 cats. One had a litter of 6 kittens. It was amazing. They didn't have 100 cats because none of them were fixed. They were concerned the other cats, what the other cats would do, which was understandable, so they kept the kittens in my friend's bedroom, which was probably not unusual at first, but 2 years later, and the kittens now never stopped going outside my friend's room, never. My friend actually moved up to the attic when her older brother moved out because everything she owned smelled bad, and she was embarrassed. Basically, she had to give up her room so her family could keep 6 cats hostage in there. This is why I hate cats and cat owners. Cat owners are assholes. Baby bite should do the trick. I had a neighbor growing up whose parents were just the sketchiest people I ever met. Go fuck yourself. The mom would spend an hour every time before she got in the car wiping everything down with baby wipes and then cleaning her hands with hand sanitizer, yet whenever I went to the house, it would be gross. There were layers of dirt on the floor, in cabinets, old fast food bags and cups all over the place. A wet dog smell was lingering, and it was just bad. Go fuck yourself. Okay, stories like this piss me off. Really do, because it's so offensive. You making fun of somebody else's lifestyle. She should have just stopped sleeping over. I had a neighbor whose mom slept on the couch. Never once in our tenure with her did I ever see her mom sleep in the bedroom with her husband. I later found out that her dad did weird things where he hollered and kicked the walls when he slept. My friend never ate either. Her dinner might have been 3 bites of soup, and that was it. Me being a chubby kid like that would always get hungry in the night and try to sneak a snack from her pantry. However, her mom never slept, so I'd walk in the kitchen at 3 a.m. She'd be there. I pretended I had to use the bathroom to save myself from the embarrassment of asking for food. It's only a little creepy. I stayed up at my Mormon friend's house on a weekend. The next morning after breakfast, before leaving for school, the family huddled together, put their hands in a circle, and cheered together forever. I felt out of place and never knew the family could love each other that much. I remain baffled to this day. See, okay, that's the only good thing about Mormons is that they do love each other. They're also fun to scare. Called the salad police. My friend's parents would cut mild salsa with ketchup because it was too hot. Actually, this is a medical condition, by the way. Yeah, this is a medical condition, bro. Don't make fun of that. Ugh. Maybe they're robots. When I was a kid, I played with another kid in a kid's house once or twice. The guy was adopted by some of the weirdest and creepiest people ever. First of all, their house they lived in was massive, yet absolutely everything was impeccably neat and clean. It was incredibly unsettling. It literally felt like everything had just been installed. One of the reasons it looked so clean is that they weren't allowed to do anything. The kids had like a massive collection of Legos that he was never allowed to play with. I believe someone had put together for him, and he was only allowed to look at them in his room. So naturally, playing at his place was pretty boring. His parents would sometimes take out his hidden PlayStation and hook it up to the massive TV in the living room, and it would have been great, but he was only allowed to ever play Sims 2. It was such a robotic and weird environment. Okay. He was adopted. They want what is best for him. They're rich. They don't want to have to clean the massive house. And that is all. Quit bitching. Quit calling people names just because they're cleaner than you or because they have a better life than you. Bro, grow the fuck up. Actually, I like his name though. Royal with cheese. 34. The couch is the couch just for decoration too? Actually, this is the mom of a friend of mine wouldn't let you use the chopping board in case you marked the chopping board. The chopping boards were just for show. They also put towels over the doormat so that they wouldn't get dirty. Why bother with them? It was a bit uncomfortable hanging out there. I hope she turned out okay. In high school, I was hanging out with a friend. She needed to stop by our apartment to pick something up. She was hesitant to let me inside, but I needed to use the bathroom. I need to use the bathroom just because I want to see the inside of your house. Picked up something. She hesitantly let me inside. I needed to use the bathroom. No furniture, no art, nothing on the wall. No anything. I asked her if she lived with her parents or they just moved or something. She said no. This is where we lived since we were in 3rd grade. I said we should get some food and take us with them since we went. She said they didn't have any food. She could tell I was confused. She walked me to the kitchen to prove it. All they had in their fridge was a couple of water bottles. What the fuck? You're never elaborating more. You should tell us more. Okay, does this person have... Fuck. Just gonna say, does this person have any more on that story? Okay, maybe the family doesn't are. In high school, I rode a bus home to a friend's house. The house was literally like a barn. Animals everywhere. The TV was sitting on top of a rabbit hutch, and it smelled like death in there. Unfortunately, they lived outside of town, like 15 miles from where I live, so I couldn't walk home. I tried to be polite as I could while stepping around the piles of excrement and chickens living in the living room. After dinner, which was a Hungry Man TV dinner made in the microwave, which had to be duct taped shut, his mom offered me a ride home. So I go outside to the car door and open the door, where I'm nearly knocked out by the worst cat stench I've ever encountered. It literally took my breath away. At that moment, my friend came running and shouted, "Don't sit down yet. You have to get the bag first." The bag. Okay, bag. Popped up to the truck. A little black garbage bag rolled and laid it out in the back seat, where it was soaked by cat. Mom came out with the keys in hand, all chipper, and said, "Ready to go," like everything was normal. I sat down in the plastic bag all the way into town and had to fight the urge to throw open the door as we hit the city. The next day, my friend said, "You're never coming back, right?" I told him maybe I would one day, but I was usually super busy. It took several water cycles to get the stench out of my clothes. You are the most despicable and disgusting human being I've ever read it. That is the most disgusting story I've ever read in my life. You have to be the biggest fucking townie fucking citiot I've ever seen in my life. Go fuck yourself, bro. The unfortunate TV debut. When I was a kid, the daughter of a woman down the street showed up to our yard randomly just to play and hang out by herself. It was weird because neither I or my parents knew her or her mom, but she was the sweetest girl. Nobody ever said anything. 5 years ago, her mom showed up on quarters and the house was filled to the brim with garbage. She said that the episode that the toilets had stopped working because she was too ashamed to call a plumber. Oh, that is sad. the roles were reversed. At the time, I didn't realize it, but now I'm older, I realize how amazing of a and kind of it was. I was about 10, and my best friend at the time would always come over, have me over at his house, and most of the time, his dad at home because his mom was always at work. We were never allowed to make a noise or go outside. Yes, we had to play outside. We used to have to always feed his dad and clean up after him and stuff. He would be the one making dinner. He had to help his dad put him in bed. Oh, okay, I get. His dad is disabled, is heavily disabled. I'm gonna read this from the beginning again because I fucked up. Okay. At the time, I didn't realize it, but now that I'm older, I realize how amazing and kind it was. I was 10, and my best friend at the time would always have me over at his house. It was mostly him and his dad at home because his mom always worked. We were never allowed to make a noise or go outside. We had to stay inside. He used to always have to feed his dad and clean up after him and stuff. He would be the one making dinner and help put his dad in bed. These were all things my parents did for me. It was the other way around for him. His dad was always hooked up to something, and our play nights mostly involved playing PS2 and all. He would pause every 5 minutes so he could go do something for his dad. Well, it turned out his dad's organs were slowly failing him over time, and my friend had to grow up learning how to take care of his dad at the time. I thought it was the weirdest thing, but now that I'm older, I realize how inspiring my friend really was. Yeah, his mom had to work, and the dad was just was slowly dying, and that's just sad. The son was born, and all was well. I had a friend whose mother would make her wear clothes for a few weeks, fuck you, before washing them. Her family consisted of 5 beautiful girls, but her parents wanted a boy. The mom would go to church every morning and pray for her son. That was weird, that every kid in the family was also praying for her brother. It was all they would talk about. They seemed like finally their prayers were answered and the son was born. We changed schools and lost touch with them. 15, I saw her on the bus. First thing she told me, "Did you know I have a brother now?" It was weird. It was so weird I couldn't say anything. Get out of there right now. When I was in first grade, I remember my 8th friend whose only friend was me. He smelled a bit, but had a genesis. He would always come over to my place for a night or so, but one day I asked him why I never seen him. First, he was reluctant to say, but eventually he told me that he was very poor and had to share a bedroom with his brother, and his folks appreciated the fact that they were saving money some nights by sending him here. Ouch. Big deal. We didn't have to see a replacement. Eventually though, I did. He brought me up sleeplessly and I gave him. It was a very small place inside, unsurprisingly occupied by him, his little brother, and their single mother. It seemed to be just a kitchen, 2 bedrooms, a bathroom, no judgment. Good times were had there. That night, however, I woke up needing a glass of water. It was sort of dark. I took a round turn and discovered that I hadn't been my imagination either that day. The house looked even bigger on the outside. I don't know where I was anymore. I had left the bedroom and was no longer in the kitchen or the bedroom, nor was I in the mother's room. Where was I exactly? I was lost. Total darkness. Must have been making some noise because just then the light came on and it was on. Before I could process that, I was get out of here right now. I hurried to the corner and then I hadn't noticed that not another word was said. I went back to bed, laid awake for a while, and I had I had excellent. There was probably another 70% of it at least. There was 3 other rooms, massive furniture under white sheets. There had been dust everywhere. There had been furnishing under white. There had been dust everywhere. I could feel it on my. At that point, I noticed my friend's brother laying awake. I simply looked at him and said, "Of course, their mother had been waking up." I whispered, my friend already, he was back. Our dad had died in there. We don't go in there ever." Oh. Okay, fucking feelings, Copernicus. Go fuck yourself. Their dad had died in there, and her mom doesn't want to use it anymore. Oh, these are getting worse. These aren't exactly the worst, but all the feelings are punching me in the heart. Yes, I have a heart and sort of a soul. Oh, wow. I was surprised to find out that they also ate different things apparently. The meal that I remember was caramel chicken, which was literally chicken with melted caramel at 8 years old. I like sweet stuff apparently, but not with my chicken. I got mildly chilled or grilled for nothing. The mom seemed puzzled by this. Oh, okay. Okay, it's one of those households where children aren't thought as human beings, so they are separated from the adults until they're like 17, until they're like 15, 16. And the mother doesn't exactly know what to cook for the kids instead of for actually giving them a normal meal. There we go. No, come on. Don't you dare tell me that this thing has disappeared. Really? They took I was reading that. You fucking assholes. What the fuck? There we go. It was on 40. 40. Caramel chicken. Okay. As I was saying, she might not know how to cook for kids. So, what ends up happening is that she tries to fuck you, Fortnite, go kill yourself. I wish it would die. Very Renaissance. They had a gigantic photo of the family framed and hung above their fireplace. You could see most of it from the first floor, and the mom and dad and three kids and was almost large enough to be life-size. But there was something really unsettling about the youngest son. It turns out he had his eyes closed in the picture, so the photography had someone paint his eyes open. It was super creepy and followed you around Mona Lisa style. The dad was just acting. I grew up in Pennsylvania, and my family, and had a family that commuted from the other side of the state, and a few homes down from us. The kids in the family were not really my age; they were much younger, so I didn't really hang out with them much. Their dad always struck me as a little weird, and wasn't really sure about him. One day, he started coming home dressed like a professional wrestler, and he had tattoos and such. He probably put on 40 pounds or something. Went from some skinny dude to being a muscle-bound freak of nature. He even grew his hair out into a mullet and really couldn't even believe what I was seeing. Apparently, after about a year, I saw him home completely clean cut in his suit. Apparently, he was undercover busting an underground professional wrestling league. Oh my god! What the fuck? That's fucking awesome! Best story ever! What the fuck? Surprise, motherfucker! I would definitely be waking up early after a sleepover. I stumbled upon her creepy ugly uncle exercising on a rowing machine. In the raw, at least he had the decency to appear just as surprised as I was. Oh, hello there! Imagine growing up with a true criminal. Charles Roberts, that's right, the guy who ended those poor Amish girls in school. He lived in my neighborhood when I was a kid. He went to my church, and I vaguely remember going to his house. All I remember is that his father was super strict and scary. I made a point to never go, and it prompted me to forget about it. I rightfully don't care about your stupid criminal story. And here's the longest one. The realest of monsters. When I was a kid, there was a family down at the end of the road who had a boy and a girl. Their parents always struck me as being a bit odd. The mother, who reminded me of a shorter olive oil from Popeye, always seemed to flinch around the dad, who's basically a massive toad, and the kids were afraid of them as well. But this wasn't too uncommon in the South, where parents would confuse respect with fear. Sometimes the son would let me ride his Power Wheels truck, but then his dad, who always stationed in the front, would stand up and yell at the boy for letting me ride it. When it was hot, I would sometimes ask if I could come in the drive, but they would shrivel at the idea of someone coming in their house. One day, I rode my bike to the end of the street to see if they wanted to play, only to find the family was gone and the gate was closed. This is very odd. Their home gates were never closed and sometimes seemed odd. I pedaled home, and a couple of weeks later, no sign of them. Some of the neighbors had been complaining about a strange smell, and it seemed to be the strongest at their house. After stepping out the bus, I noticed a dozen emergency news vans and down the street. The kid, I rode my bike down the street to see what was going on. I couldn't get very close, but I could see that the house was roped off with police tape, and there was a walking in and around the house. This was only so I had to wait until the evening to find them. The county officials claimed that it was the worst case of animal cruelty and neglect they've seen in 20 years. Over 200 cats and several dogs were found at the home after having been left without food and water for weeks. The police caught up with the family in New Jersey a couple weeks later. The children were staying with family members, and the parents were served in their serving their jail sentence. It took about a month for a crew to clean and gut the interior of the house and rebuild it. A few months later, another family moved in, and that was that. They were weird, but never imagined doing something like that. The weirdest part is that they only ever saw a couple of cats around the house and a dog in the backyard. Oh, God. People weird and ever done. Okay. We'll read 3 stories. It won't care. Doesn't matter. Okay. Strange fridge finding. A buddy of mine in college, who would leave weird stuff in the fridge, used dental floss, school papers, etc. I think the most offensive was a pair of sandy bikini bottoms. Ew. Angry eater. My roommate used to come home late and intoxicated often. He would always raid the kitchen and eat all the food. The following day, he would have no memory of eating all the food. I presume it was me who had done it and then get cross. I would be awakened by the sound of him hitting my bedroom door. Bumps, bonks, splats. It was him throwing the mess at my floor, leaving food lists all over the place. Before I moved in, he had also covered up his own vomit in the sofa instead of cleaning it up, which I later found out about. I lived with him a year before I ate sleep. He was a nasty, vile man. I hope I gets up quick too. Paper problem. He never finished full rolls of toilet paper. There was 1/4 roll left when it gets tossed. I can't figure out the reason. Microwave mishap. He unplugged our microwave because he didn't want the radiation leaking into the air. I tried to tell him that our microwave wasn't nuclear. He just grinned and unplugged it at night. Murder movies. I used to live with a guy who would watch a particularly disturbing kill on repeat in the dark while sitting 12 inches from the TV screen. He would never look up or say hi when I got home. He'd just sit there in the pitch black watching women get murdered and repeat it. It was super creepy. A million different people from one day to the next. I had a roommate in college who used to play Bittersweet Symphony on repeat all day, every day. From the minute I moved in to even when I moved out. I relocated down the hall to another kid's room and would still hear it constantly playing whenever I walked by. I really used to like that song. but it's ruined for me now. What problems? I used to have a housemate that was a heavy drinker, which in itself wasn't really the issue. The rest of us, he really wasn't loud or belligerent. The issue was, though, that he would wet himself pretty frequently whenever he was trashed. Like, he would literally just stand there, wet himself without bothering to go to the bathroom. It got so bad that whenever he started drinking, we would all start encouraging, sometimes outright demanding that he go to his own room before he passed out and wet himself on one of the couches or someone's bed. He had a habit of getting up, wandering into someone's room, and passing out on their bed. Dirty underwear. My first college roommate hated to do laundry, so he would wear my underwear when dirty. It never felt like my underwear again after he'd been wearing it. Road trip remix. We were taking a road trip to upstate New York, approximately 4-hour drive, and I noticed that he had a CD entitled Conversations with John on it. I asked John what it was. He was hesitant at first, but eventually he told me the CD was what he always listened to on long road trips. He popped into and it started track 1, John himself. Howdy cowboy, how's the road ahead? I turned it right off, and we never spoke of it since. Toying around. My current roommate talks to himself. He just paces around the living room with his hands clapped around his back. If you walk in on him doing it, he just stops, stares at you until you leave. He's mentally handicapped. Shut up. Hockey player hugs. My roommate in my freshman year of college was this very tall, total bro of a hockey player. When he went to bed at night, I was surprised to see him. He had an old stuffed bunny toy in pajamas under his pillow and would kiss it goodnight before hugging it close. I soon averted that was a part of his bedtime routine, and I never mentioned to him that I knew his secret. Oh, why? My roommate used to get home after a day of work, sit down on the couch, and stare at the wall, and sometimes also he used to bake stuff like meatloaf and salmon and would leave it on top of the stove for days, picking at it until it was too dry to chew without fracturing his teeth. I never really had an issue with him, but that was weird. True. Happy feet. He washed his feet every night before going to bed and kind of did a little tap dance to dry them. The walls were thin, so I could hear it every night. Clowning around. My gay roommate's boyfriend had a creepy clown mask that he left at our place. One night, I fell asleep early and he came into my room wearing the mask, He wiggled my toe until I woke up. Oh, that nigga gets killed. That nigga gets clack, 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 clack. I would have shot that motherfucker. The Battle of the Bathroom. I was doing my business in the bathroom one day when my roommate opened the door to see me sitting on the toilet. Most normal people would say, "Oh, sorry," in the door. But he didn't. He just made eye contact for 12, then without breaking eye contact, slowly stepped into the bathroom, opened the drawer under the sink, reached around or whatever he was looking for, still keeping on contact, and slowly backed away out of the bathroom. We never talked about it. What the fuck you gonna do? This is my bathroom, bitch. Oh. Fake filtering. I went to school in a town where the water was kind of funky tasting. So we got one of those Brita water pitchers. My mom has one of these. My mom used to have this one, but it broke. Pitchers. Well, one of the roommates had been removing the filters to pour tap water into the bottom before placing the filter back on top. If you were unaware, as most of my roommates, this defeats the entire purpose of the filter. The former roommate of mine used to come back late from work. He proceeded to the kitchen to take out a bottle of vodka from the freezer, down a couple shots, then he put on his running shoes and go for an hour-long jog. When he'd get back, he'd take more shots. Is this power jogging? Is this drunk jogging or something? Like, it might be a game to him or something. Common room catastrophe. My dorm room had 2 bedrooms with 2 people sharing each bedroom, and a personal common room. My roommate in the other bedroom smelled like death. He had some weight issues and never seemed to shower. The roommate in my room literally saw him with excrement on the back of his pants one day. He sat all over the common room couches. It smelled so bad that we were unable to use the common room for literally held our breath. From the bedroom to the hallway, he always had to keep our bedroom door closed and douse it with Febreze every couple of days or so. It was torture. Then have him evicted or something. Pumpkin pie hens. He ate half of a pumpkin pie. What made it weird is because it was February and the pie was from Thanksgiving. Ew. The same roommate used to get tipsy and sneak into the iron skillet buffet to eat for free, but they hand out utensils whenever they sit you. So every time he went, he would have to eat with his hands. The day he got caught, he had his hands covered in mashed potatoes. Butter things to do. Well, my actual roommate was abroad for the semester. His brother lived with me. Something that I noticed, that he always brought a lot of butter. A lot. He always had around 3 or 4 pieces in the fridge. One time I asked him why he had so much butter. He denied that it was his, which was super strange because we were the only 2 people living in there. When he moved out, the butter disappeared. To this day, I don't know what the heck he needed so much butter for. I don't even want to know. Strange behavior. It happened when I was in college. I roomed with a guy who was super awkward. He was polite, Chinese guy, but awkward. He wanted to help me. He wanted me to help him learn the Western lifestyle. That was cool, I thought. I tried to teach him the customs, but he never got it. He'd get milk cartons and leave them on the heater and order pizza and just leave the slices for squirrels. He'd also stand over me while I slept. Okay. foods that were described in the Old Testament. A lot of dates and olives. The week of Easter, he took down all the art in the house and put it in my room because he felt like it was, he burned a bonfire in the backyard where he threw in dolls. There were a lot of melted plastic on the island. Finally, on Good Friday, I saw him walking around the neighborhood wearing a white robe with a crown of thorns around his head. He had long brown hair. I kicked his butt out. Sherry Coke. I had a roommate. No, don't open that. I had a roommate that would only eat beef jerky and drink cherry coke, both which he ordered from Amazon and kept under his computer desk. We had a fully furnished kitchen and lots of covered space because we were in college. In the morning, he put cherry coke in the freezer and then before showering, and then drink it. He would use my toaster oven he would use my toaster oven, which is fine with me, but by the end of the year, it was trashed. I don't know what he put in, but it was one of A, beef jerky, B, cherry coke, or C, something that kept a secret from his 3 roommates for an entire year. The final rose in a row. I had a roommate who was the hyper-massive frat boy type. Very loud, obnoxious, and kind of a bully in a way. One day, I came home late from school to find all the lights out in the apartment, probably 30 individual candles laying in them. He was sitting there wearing only a robe, holding a glass of wine, which he never drank, because men drink beer or something. I asked him what was, and kind of laughed, thinking a girl was coming over. He looked at me like I'm an idiot. The Bachelor starts tonight. Get your robe. I did not know this was a thing. Oh, it hurts. Oh, it hurts. Homebrewing. He tried making an adult beverage in his closet. He bought some yeast, some grape juice, and threw the yeast in a bottle. He left it sit there for a few days, and it was completely soiled. He took it to a friend's place and let it explode, but he ended up throwing it down the drain. Utterly unplugged. My college roommate was a weird dude. He thought that certain sounds and frequencies could benefit his sleep and somehow heal him. I used to wake up in the middle of the night and hear really high-pitching concepts. I'd search the dorm and unplug all electronics I saw, and hoping the sound would go away. After a few nights, I realized my roommate was playing the frequency on his phone while he slept. I couldn't stand it. He tried to unclog the toilet one day by playing the frequency into the bowl. Yeah, it didn't do anything. He also used to stand in front of the mirror and stare at himself in the dark with headphones for long periods of time. Oh yeah. One last thing. He'd steal my food and other roommates' food in the middle of the night. He was the only one with a meal plan. The rest of us bought our own food. The dining hall closed at 9. I found completely empty wraps of my food behind the toilet. The bird feeder. Big. lived in a big house with lots of other guys in college. One dude would open the second floor window every morning, pour a decent amount of Cheerios or other cereal onto our first floor patio for the birds, and then go one out of the same window of all the other food. Okay. Tinfoil temptation. I came home from a night and my roommate had the TV covered in tinfoil with hose poked and all my friends were just staring at it. Polite to puppy. He was a sleepwalker. One time he went to go to the bathroom. In his sleep, saw that the dog was in there and apologized and shut the door and ended up going on the door. My college roommate kept everything he bought in his backpack, packed in his army rucksack at all times, in case he needed to bug out. His side of the room was bare except for the bag, his camel sleeping bag, which he kept on the mattress. All listening to Ranger Candace chants. Weird enough, the guy didn't own stitched camel clothing and dressed like a Mennonite farmer in wader jeans and snap-up wool shirt. The last thing I heard, he was a major in the Air Force. Woo! He upgraded. Meat mistake. One day I saw two Kentucky Fried Chicken breasts in the cupboard. When I asked him about it, he said, only dark meat needs to be refrigerated. No, all meat needs to be refrigerated. Trash collector. Rather than empty a small trash can, my dumb roommate and her live-in boyfriend started stacking trash like it was a game of Tetris. Imagine coming home to eggshells, watermelon rinds all over the floor. Factor in the summer heat, and they always kept the kitchen window up. There was always an infestation of fruit flies and larvae. How could they live like that? Because you're a bitch. A curious creeper. He opened my door and walked into my bedroom. I was under my blankets, lying in bed. He asked, are you asleep? I mean, not anymore. The whole situation made me weirder by the fact that I'm a girl staying in the room with my boyfriend in a three-person house. He never did anything like that when all three of us were at home. He was generally a good guy, just zero common sense social behavior. Fuck yeah, it's true. Repeat offenders. My former roommate watched The Office from start to finish for years. No. You don't understand. Not watched. They watched it a lot. No. It's the show of preference. No, I mean, they literally had been watching it sequentially every day since approximately 2007. Every day. Compulsive care. I had a roommate who was obsessed with her health. The only problem was that the things she tried were unusually outrageous and never in moderation. It was pretty common for her to eat the same food over and over again. I didn't start to get too concerned until her hands and feet turned a deep orange from the insane amount of carrots she had been consuming. As a student, I lived in a tiny apartment in a hallway full of identical tiny apartments that shared a kitchen and lounge. There was a vicinity and some guy came to look at it. He signed the papers and turned up with his stuff the following week. He had opened the door and found the space was fully furnished. He obviously but no one was home. Turns out that another guy was aware the landlord didn't keep track of what was going on or who lived there. As a joke, he somehow managed to change apartments between the time of viewing and the new apartment. He moved in all his stuff in the dead of night without anybody noticing and said nothing to no one. The weirdest practical joke I'd ever seen. Your landlord's a cunt. That's what your landlord is. A fucking cunt. Oh, wow. Couch collector. Back in college, I roomed off campus with two buddies. They were undergrads. They were doing master's work. Being the polygamists they were, if they ever saw something they could put to use, they went ahead to use all of it. One day, in the parking lot of the apartment next to the main dumpster, they had discovered, due to the renovation, a whole set of furniture that was being thrown out. Nothing was wrong with the stuff, it was just being replaced with newer stuff. Having very little to their name, they decided to bring it up to the room. I aided them in their quest. We were only on the second floor. Our common and our room area soon had finished with 3 more couches and 2 more love seats. Literally every wall in the common area had a couch, including one love seat that was in a box by the end of the couch. The girls loved that one. Not only the way it works, but one of the previous couches, which was owned by the other guy, got moved to a bedroom. So the guy configured his bed frame to a loft bed and couch underneath the bunk. So to this day, all the other girls were friends with, referred to that period as the couch farm. Paper waste. My roommate noticed that we had burned through almost an entire roll in one day. There were 4 of us, and it didn't make any sense. Everybody claimed to not use that much. It turned out one of them was a germaphobe and would mummy wrap both of his hands before going anywhere near his booty. So we all bought our own toilet paper after that. The same roommate would also wash his hands, his face in the sink the same way they do in the commercials, by cupping water in his hand and splashing in his face, plus the walls and floor. Warm midnight snack. We got super intoxicated on it and ordered 20 chicken McNuggets off Uber Eats. We must have ordered 200 instead of 20. They showed up and we just lost it. We ate a ton of chicken nuggets at like 3 a.m., then passed out and called it a night. I woke up the next morning, instead of covering me with a blanket, the dude covered me with all the McNuggets containers from the nuggets. I asked him why he chose to cover me up that way, and he said he didn't remember doing that. Oh, wow. 40 Orange You Weird. During my freshman year of college, I was lying in bed, and my roommate walked in at approximately 9 a.m. asking, "How do you eat an orange?" I sat up and had to peel it first, and then ate the ends. He replied, "Oh, I thought it tasted funny." The orange in his hand with a bite out of the side. He was eating it. However, in the power move, he continued to eat the orange like it was an apple without peeling it. With the ghost of my college roommate pretended he had a girlfriend who lived in England. He used to talk to her on the phone while we would both be in the dorm and say stuff like how he missed her, and we later found out she never existed. He had set up a fake profile in the fake name and fake pictures. He was talking to no one except for himself on the phone. To make things interesting, I asked him to invite her over for the weekend to meet her. His face turned white, and I loved every second of it. I had no idea he had such legs for a lie. I felt really weird about the whole thing. You're a bitch. Last one. My roommate is in army training and claimed the whole time. My roommate in the army training claimed for a whole time he lived together, he didn't have headphones. He would therefore watch anime at full volume while I was trying to sleep. When I was helping him move out, I saw he had a pair hanging in his locker. When I asked why he never used it, he said, "Because you never asked politely." I didn't know if that counts as weird as much as baffling and frustrating. Well, you should have asked nicely then, bitch. My roommate has a cat. For some reason, he always buys it potatoes. The cat doesn't eat them or anything. He just gets them for the cat to play with. Normally, I'd walk out of my room once a week to see shredded potatoes and plastic all over the floor, rugs, couch, and name it. He cleans it up if it gets into him. So I guess it's not a big deal. It's still weird. Just buy a stuffed mouse or something. So then, Sarah, I once walked into my roommate pouring a bowl of Sarah. We didn't have milk, so instead she used a Dr. Pepper. Well, nuts about peanut butter. I had a roommate in college who we called John. He kept a jar of peanut butter on his sink at all times. He didn't have much storage space, so it made sense for something like that and out. I didn't think I ever saw him open the jar. There were different jars that were happy. The guy liked peanut butter, I guess. I didn't think much of it. Strange dude anyway. Then there was a time I had someone over there using my bathroom. I also had to go, so I decided to use John's bathroom. On his little bath cart thing, next to the toilet, sat another half-eaten jar of peanut butter. I asked the other roommates at the time who shared that bathroom with him what was up with the peanut butter. He said he asked John the same thing and replied, "I just really like peanut butter," so that was it. Well, yeah. Waiters share the cringiest dates. Blatant disrespect. A girl hit on me in front of her boyfriend while I was serving. The boyfriend walked up after staring her down. The girl just awkwardly sat there for a while. I asked someone else to take over the table because it was too awkward. It was their first date, and they were both in college. As they were eating, the girl says, "I'm having a really nice time, but a friend of mine texted me and asked if I want to go out." I said yes. I actually do have to go. What a bitch. Learning the job. I had a couple come in one night and everything to be go. They just hired a new server who I had to train. I asked her if she'd had any questions. She still was nervous in greeting the table. So I told her just to shadow me and went over to the couple, and the new server screamed, "You trip! I knew you were cheating on me." Turns out the guy was her boyfriend and was on a date with his side chick. I didn't know she got the job, and didn't know she didn't get fired for what she said. Thank you. Next, guy came into the bar on the weekend. He was average looking guy, probably in his late 20s. He just sat down. It was his first date in 3 years. He arrived 20 minutes before her and expected we were in a similar. 2 hours passed. He was waiting for her. No text, no call. The woman walked in, went up to the guy, and I'm thinking, just wow, she actually came. She looked at him and asked, "Are you Joe?" The guy replied yes and got up properly. It was incredibly. She said, "No thanks," and just left. That foul creature. What a foul creature. Joe and I proceeded to get way too tipsy for a Tuesday. Poor average Joe. Wow, what a bitch. This is why Tinder sucks. Husband and wife fought. The wife cried. The husband got up and threw a pizza slice at her face. of work to do on Fallout 4 after I finish reading here. So, this won't take me long. I actually do enjoy reading for my channel, and I've been wanting to read The Raven for my channel forever, but I just haven't found the time for it. The husband and wife, I already read that. I worked at a fondue eel. I like fondue, but I like chocolate fondue. I don't like normal cheesy fondue because the cheese always tastes weird. It was usually a 2-hour meal for 2 people. Of course, 4 courses, the works. A couple came in, he had prearranged for a present engagement ring with the chocolate course and melted chocolate, people saying, "Will you marry me?" Apparently the entire meal, she explained to him how bad he was at being in the relationship. He was too needy, too emotional, and somehow also didn't spend enough time with her. It was an hour-long breakup speech. We came around the corner with the candles. The table next to them did everything they could to wave us off. I was holding the camera to capture the magical moment, which never came. He tried to get his prepared remarks up, but was so bad we eventually left the dessert at the table, tried to act like nothing had happened. She left before the check came. What a dirty cow. Fuck you. If me working hard to try to get you shit and try to actually make it so I can spend time with you isn't fucking enough, then you don't need me. Plain and fucking simple, you don't need me. I dated, the date seemed to be going well, and the guy was nervous if he would rock back on his chair a bit as he talked, and eventually flew too close to the sun, toppled his chair backward, and knocking himself out cold. He also went number 1 in his pants. He had to be taken out of the dining room on a stretcher, and his Tinder date did the honorable thing and immediately went to the. We gave them to her on the house. Oh, poor dude. I was working at a wine bar when a married couple sat down. Pretty slow night. I went over the specialties and one appetizer came out. The man thought it would be a good idea to serve his wife support papers. I did my best to avoid that side of the bar. I did bring the tissues to the wife who was breaking down. I ended up boxing up the dinner. The guy paid. I did not envy that ride home. Why do people do this at fucking restaurants? It's so disgusting. The signs were there. I served a deaf couple that was having a fight. They were both signing furiously. At some point, the woman started crying and signaled for me for a second after, and she whipped out a pen and started writing a paragraph after paragraph and angrily. It was awkward because I kept on having to come back to the table since she ordered multiple courses. When they finally left, they tipped me pretty well, so I wasn't too bad, I guess. Making him mad. There was a couple having a drink. Apparently, the girl went to the toilet, came back, and admitted she had been sleeping with the guy's brother. Apparently, the glasses were thrown across the room. They were both kicked out. Overindulgent order. A guy, maybe 5'4" and 100, comes into the restaurant with a gigantic woman, probably 6'1", easily 300 pounds. Both tatted up with piercings to match. The woman ordered a dish, and before I could get he says in a 6-foot, "I think you want more than that." Sorkson says, "You know I do," in order to 3 more entrees. This was clearly a thing for them. It seems incredibly happy together and became regulars at my restaurant. I feel like I played a small role in the eating fetishes for like 3 years. Oh, icky. Oh, that's nasty. But I'm happy that see, that's the thing, is everybody wants a relationship like that. A relationship where you know, you could say to your partner, I know you want more than that, or I know something, playing for keeps. A girl brought two Tinder dates with her and played them off each other, game show style. They seemed to be unaware that what was happening. Splitting the bill was hilarious. Perfect match. This wasn't so much awkward as it was slightly unusual. I served a young couple at a high-end restaurant, and they came in wearing matching outfits. I asked them, "What's your kitchen?" They were grading their 2 months over. I'm so glad they found each other. Ew, those kinds of couples, creepy. They sat down, tortured by talk. And from the girl, they sat down for the. Shh. You could tell she was into him. As the day progressed, she closed off and sat kind of sideways, playing with her phone. Her body lay during the hour. He didn't stop talking, and she gave some nods in response, even perked up a few times to contribute. But his monologue never stopped. Okay, if he was a villain, he would be captured by now. Well, yeah, because we aren't uncultured redneck swine. We shop at Target. Backdoor breakaway. The couple sitting at the bar together seemed like they were on the first date. Maybe 30 minutes later of being together, the dude comes running back to where I was rolling silver and goes, "There's an exit back there, right?" and proceeds to bolt out the back door. We were all fumoxed. The girl sat at the bar alone before she left. Aw, we were all flummoxed. Oh, that's rude. Riled up regulars. I witnessed a couple get into a huge fight while I was waiting on them. I tried to stay away from the table towards the end of the meal because the tensions were so high. Their regular customers who I would come to see every few weeks, and I never had waited on them myself. At one point, a man got up, started walking across the aisle. The woman stood up behind him and screamed across the crowd, "And you made me touch your butt!" I never saw them in the restaurant again after that. Boy, don't! Oh my god, what the fuck? And you made me touch your butt! What the fuck? Oh yes, oh no. I brought out the ring and the girl. Whoa. I worked at a high-end resort waiting table, the dining restaurant, and it was pretty common for people to propose that. So much so that I had a system all in place. One guy came in, wanted me to do the ring champagne thing. I walked up to him with the dessert and alternatives that didn't result in sticky ring and champagne on the floor. I brought out the ring and the girl he was and says, "Damn it, I told you before, I'm not marrying you." He flips out well she's super calm and it basically treats him like a child for having a tantrum. He left, she ate dessert, eventually he came back and they left together, super awkward. Inexcusable behavior. I waited a middle-aged couple who seemed perfect. The man asked asked me if he could go out to get some. I pointed him right in the direction and started heading back to the kitchen, which was just, he followed me and told me that the woman with him was his ex-wife. Not knowing how to respond, I said it was nice that they got along well. He told me that she pretended to seem nice and was actually a terrible person. I was feeling uncomfortable enough, and he started asking me if I had a boyfriend and what was going to. Thankfully, I was able to excuse myself. Serving the table was awkward that night. She kept touching and complimenting him. An unhappy meal. So, not technically a waiter, but I worked at McShitholes, McShittenbox, McShittenbox. No. McShittenburgers. One of the less trashy ones. And a couple came in. A woman sat down and a man tried to order. He hesitated with what he wanted to buy. He eventually ordered 2 meals and gave him and sat down. He followed, and what followed was a 10-minute shouting match. He wouldn't take her on a proper date, and how he messed up even a McDonald's date. Wow, I guess he ordered the wrong thing. A hole in none. A couple started shouting when they both went to the washroom. We then thought they were smashing and dashing, but they came back. I heard some of their conversation was like so awkward. Guy, so do you golf? 'Cause I golf. Girl, no. And it went on like that for the whole day. Oh. Afternoon delight. I was a bartender. I served 2 strangers and chatted each other across the bar. They hit it off, take it on, and they were clearly into each other. When they moved closer, I turned away to help other customers, not paying attention. When I eventually turned back around, I realized he was now standing behind her with his hands up the back of her shirt, giving a sensual back rub while her eyes were closed. This was lunchtime. It went great for them, but awkward for everyone else in the bar. Oh yeah. I was a bartender at the time. They were in front of the bar. An attractive woman came in with a very loud dude who never took off his rollerblade. They were in the bar for about an hour before he thanked her and left. He thought it was a date. Apparently, she was doing a sociological research on people who use Tinder. I was relieved. The entree for the girls. When I was in school, an old guy used to bring in a bunch of different young ladies. I thought they were his daughters until one day I noticed a lot of touching. A real laugh, you hacker. No game. I sat at a table where a guy was explaining the plot of a new video game to a girl on their first date. Incredible detail. He was not catching on the signs that she didn't care a bit. She would try to change the subject, and he would come back to the video game. I can't believe how nice she was about the whole deal. In the end, he said he had a great time and tried to set up another date. She was very clear in a polite way. She did not want another one, and he still not catch on. She was incredibly attractive. I have so many questions. One of the waitresses at a restaurant where I used to work told me this. There was a couple apparently on her first date, she would come by with drinks to take their orders, etc. She noticed that they were hardly talking or looking at each other. The girl was clearly not into it. Finally, when they finished with the meal, the waitress asked if the bill was separate. The guy said together, the girl said separate. Practically at the same time, it seems that each had a different experience in this date. It was awkward to hear. Whatever. Breakup and violence. A dude ordered so much food for them that I thought it was hilarious when he then asked me to give them some more time. After about 20 minutes, I looked over and saw the girl hadn't touched her plate at all, while the dude was almost done with everything. And the next thing I know, the girl was crying to the dude was nowhere to be found. It turns out that was a breakup. The dude didn't pay the tab either. He left her with extra food and an $80 bill. Wow, fuck you. Coming on too strong, I was working at a local Mexican restaurant. This guy came in saying that he was gonna meet someone for a date. She was coming in a little later. He asked for a more private spot where there was, which wasn't hard to do. It was like 9 p.m. and it was almost empty. The server sat them in a booth in the back, and he told them that it was going to be a special date. The couple, and it was a couple weeks before Valentine's Day, so penis Christmas. And we had some candles. She lit for them. He had bought some roses and a vase on the table. He had showed up her with a necklace. He had bought and was going to give it. The woman showed up and saw the setup. She looked super uncomfortable, and the guy was trying to physically put the necklace on her, and she refused to take it. It was apparently only their second date, and the woman was freaking out. She ended up leaving. Whatever, bitch. See, that's the thing. Is, okay, guys come on too strong. Yeah. And women complain about it, and I don't get why. Yeah, they can come on too strong. That just means they like you. Just tell them no and walk away then. Family matters. I was running food to a table and started distributing the food and said, okay, who had the chicken? And before I could finish, all I heard was, well then maybe you shouldn't have slept with my sister. They both looked at me. The longest 5 seconds of my life. I just kindly set the plate down and allowed them to sort it out. Sort out who had what. Being a little shellfish. Me. Whatever. Last night, a couple came in. A woman was rude and annoying. At one point, she grabbed the dude's lobster, and he questioned her. She had her own lobster. She made a huge fuss, and then he said, fine, you can have some. She said, I don't want that. I'd rather end it myself. What a whore. Sorry. Caught cheating at the cantina. An older couple was having lunch at our cantina when a younger woman, who I assumed to be their daughter, showed up, was coming, and I came to greet their chips and salsa, and she suddenly grabbed the man's frozen margarita and threw it in his face. She said, if you're gonna have lunch with your wife, then you should stop testing me. Needless to say, I had their food boxed up to go. Proposing a breakup. Not a waitress, but I was sitting close to the couple. The guy was on one knee, holding a small box, and when she opened it, he ran away. It was a small paper inside. After reading it, she started to cry. It turns out he broke with her, and it was funny and sad at the same time. Oh my god. Oh, that's the reason for murder right there. I had a young couple for the first date. You could tell the guy was in her because of the level of eye contact he was putting up, and it was her. As I wiped down the table next to them, she asked him, do you have anything, do anything for it? He said, oh yeah. I just got back from a cruise. She responds, oh, I can never go on a cruise. I'm too afraid of pirates. I glanced to see her if maybe it was a joke. She was dead serious. He got confused on his face and eventually said, oh yeah, I get that. I mean, you could be into somebody, but you're afraid of pirates. Pirates. When a couple came in on Valentine's Day, I recognized the woman from the gym. She basically yells at him on the phone the whole time. Kind of crazy anyway. They have a little paper table tent host put on the... We have little paper table tents. One of them must have written a guest number down quickly and not realized it. A woman sees the number and starts freaking out about it. As we just watched, the server took the drink and app order. She continues to berate him. The drinks come. She still yells at him, calling him a cheater and a tramp. All those, and all of a sudden he gets up, leaves, and she just stares up down. The server places the app down on the table and stares off into space for a good 5 minutes. Then she gets up and leaves. I hope that man she was with is still alive. That's what I'm wondering. Is he alive? High school couple came in and got some burgers. They were sitting at the table and it seemed normal. When the food arrived, they take a bite of their food while they were still there chewing. They would make out multiple times. It was like they were mixing burgers together in their... Compensated with a car. I had a husband and wife with a very identical... I was 20. It was a country club level stuff with wealthy. He told his wife at dinner that he was leaving her for another woman he met in Thailand. It was cold as ice. He would leave his apartment in YC for her and his Porsche. She cried. He got up and left. Caught and confronted. I had a middle-aged couple come into the restaurant where they were set. The section right next to mine. I had been about an hour when the woman, in her 20s, and a few friends seated in my section. They were there only about 30 minutes when I came to check on the table. The girl was crying and her friends immediately asked for the check. When they left, I found out the guy of the middle-aged couple was her dad, and the woman was not her mom. He got caught cheating by his daughter while I was in the kitchen, and she had seen him and confronted him. Okay, that's not your job, little girl, okay? There we go. Friend zone real quick. I saw a guy and a girl on seemed to be they were laughing, playing games with each other, but then when time came for the waiter to give them their check, the girl said aloud, and after some people could hear, separate checks because point to figure, I am not your girlfriend. What followed was awkward silence. It looked like everything was going well for them. I guess not. Straight up, if I was out with a girl and she did that, I would have been like, you know what? No. Yeah, I'll pay for my side. You know what? I'm never talking to you again. We're done. I'm not talking to you. We're done. I don't want to talk to you. I don't like you anymore. You're a bitch. That's all you are. I'm never taking you out to eat again. Love tipsy. I saw a much older couple come in, and you could tell they were already a little tipsy. It's normal. Well, these guys weren't even married. They were friends, just hanging out. At least that's what the girl thought. The girl was like, wow, Jerry, you're so nice. Thanks for taking me out. And then Jerry starts begging for them to take you home and leave her. She was like, oh, wow, Jerry, I didn't expect that. Sorry, but I love my husband, blah, blah, blah. It was awkward as they finished dinner and went home. Cake competition. They ordered a single slice of cake. I forgot to bring the second part, so I dropped the one fork. I dropped the one fork in the middle of the table and joked that it's a race, the loser gets to pay the check. She reached for it first. His arm darted so fast, he easily took it. He then started hosing that single piece of cake. There was no time to get another fork for the girl. She kindly, blankly stared, and he smiled victoriously. Oh yeah! Oh man, she got fucked. You hit something with that dude. He was like, the fuck yeah! And he just destroyed that cake. Is that even cake? Is that even normal cake? Or is that cheesecake? I think that's cheesecake. Declined twice on a date. I worked at a sports bar and two people who I went to high school with sat down at one of my table. The girl was one of those popular ones in high school, and the guy was a jerk who played on one of the sports teams I was on. Every time everything seemed to go, both of them until it came to the guy went to pay with a card, but it declined. He goes, oh, that's weird. Gives me a start, which also declines. The look of the girl had to pick up the tab was priceless. Literally broken heart. A literal broken heart. I work at Red Lobster. One time I was serving a table of two who had clearly met for the first date. For a first or second date. Both of them seemed very wealthy, but the gentleman seemed a little odd. Long story short, they began coughing and went to the restroom of the sick to get himself together. He ended up taking her on. The lady requested to go in and look for him, so he did. It turns out he had a massive heart attack. They found him lifeless on the bathroom floor. We didn't know quite how to tell the lady or what to do, and besides calling the police, by the time we went to go look, she had taken all those things. Just weird, messed up scenario. She killed him. She literally find out who she is and charge her for murder. She just killed him. Bartending, not babysitting. Isn't it the worst when you are the only three people at the bar and a couple is fighting while trying to drag you into it? Oh, really? Are you going to have another drink? Really? Excuse me. Can you cut him off? Nah, we're not falling down on slurring, you're not recognizing the signs of what's going on and turns into a terrible night for you. But I need to make money. Public indecency. I walked over to introduce myself and take the dinner. The girl was on her phone and looking through new pictures of herself. I noticed for a second the guy clearly was not amused and slammed the phone out of that. They were gone when I came back. Sharing his stand-up. Most awkward couple of the date was the guys waiting for an online blind date for 2 hours. When she did not come, he made me take a picture of him sitting there alone on Facebook. Ooh, goth. Oh, this is a goth story. A couple came into the restaurant dressed very goth. I was their server, but I was running the cash register. Just a few feet that they proclaimed to everyone that they were energy vampires, but said not to fear them because they didn't want to hurt anyone. They said they didn't need our food for sustenance. They just enjoyed the taste. Well, I mean, that's a good excuse to eat food. After ordering the meal, they politely asked the waitress if they could stick around for a second so they could feed off the order for that night. The waitress said okay, slid me a glance over her shoulder, and I knew better get a good tip for this. A couple clasped each other's hands, closed their eyes, and started sucking their solid minute. The seat said they said as if they just had a turkey dinner. The waitress was indeed tipped well for the delicious energy. That'll be all, guys. That'll be fucking all for my reading extravaganza. I needed a video and I decided I had all this stuff here. Hold on. No. Yeah. You know what? Yeah, I'll read this. Okay. Where's the trash? Everyone has bad days. Just one of those things that we all accept. However, is it necessary to take it out on other people working in a junk food store? I don't want to read this. Okay, we're gonna see if this is the... Nope, it's new. Can I fucking get rid of this? Fuck. A girl I worked with Indeed needed some extra cash and started posting online pages saying she wound up getting some steady work from a hectic single guy who had adopted a special needs niece and needed some help watching her because his job required a lot of travel. She worked for him in a while and wound up dating him within weeks. Then he started making a little girl call my coworker mommy. Meanwhile, she was still babysitting for him frequently as he was way forward. Shortly after they started dating, the woman contacted my coworker claiming that to be the guy's girlfriend, saying that she was pregnant. He wound up playing off the other world playing as a crazy ex, and they continued dating. So at the end of every month, she would come in gushing about how the guy was too good to be true and didn't spend a ton of time. They didn't spend a cut, but when they did, he bought her lavish gifts and is taking her on last-minute family vacations to Disneyland. She knew that they were moving fast, but kept justifying it with saying sometimes people just click. This went on for about a month when the fighting started about the fact that they are never alone without the little girl. Well, she replied, "You're my babysitter. What am I supposed to do?" When it got crazier, one day she noticed his phone started going off and started partial texts from another woman out of here. I can't stop thinking about last night. She went through his phone. She went through his phone and had about 5, and turned out he had about 5 babysitters that he just clicked with. His overnight business tips were overnight stays with other women that he would pull the same scam on. He was having his niece call all of these women mama so that she couldn't slip up and call them by the wrong name. Oh, wow. I babysat for a family in high school. They typically brought their 2 little kids over to my place on the way to work on weekend. Once the couple had me, I watched them I noticed that the first time I watched them first, they had speech impediments. They were 5 and 7 years old. I think they were essentially unintelligible for most words, and I could practically understand what they said by having them activity, and they worked on speech and pronunciation a lot. Second, they reeked like they had spent most of their lives living in a litter box. They had carried deep-rooted musky scent of cat urine and feces on them. They also worked on hygiene, bathing, for a few months, until one night their parents asked my brother and me to watch their kids at their place. I'm sure they'll do it. The kids are fine and it's easy money. Okay. Sure, we'll do it. The kids are fun. Carry deeper. We also worked on hygiene and bathing. This went on for a few months until one night their parents asked my brother and me to watch their kids at their place. Sure, we'll do it. The kids are fun and it's easy money. When we get to their place, we saw it was a double-wide trailer and the door was open. We started and the stink hit me. I never heard people describe a particular putrid smell. While scent, that was it. And that is what I expected. And it was like somebody opened a jar of cat pee and let it ferment in the Texas summer sun and wind, and then surprised me by opening it in my face. It was pervasive, and there was no place. And there was no place in the trailer that didn't make me hurt. The parents went off to work and left us to watch the kids. I was extremely skeptical about sitting down in the furniture because there was cat poop everywhere. There were litter boxes practically overflowing with cat poop. In the unused shower, there was cat poop behind the couch. And cushions. It had obviously seen some action too. There had been, when I went to cook dinner, and the kids' shelves were practically empty. There was no pots, so I ended up microwaving some hot dogs for them, which was apparently a common meal. The room where the kids had stayed was indicated with cat excrement and toys. One of the kids couldn't even sleep in the bed because there was so much stuff, so he slept on the couch. When we got home after we had to talk with our mom and call in charge, and ultimately decided to do it. After that, we learned they had removed the older child from their custody due to anger problems that resulted in beating his little brother. Made me tear up thinking about those kids. The older one must be 18 and the younger ones must be 16 or so. I'm not sure if I have the heart to look them up. In the middle of a marriage meltdown.
First of all, big tits and small, tiny dick. Listen here, my ears are not for yelling. Second of all, if you're gonna yell, step behind me. I will listen quietly. I babysat almost every single Friday and Saturday night through high school. But there were my top two. Here were the top two. The spanking. One of my earliest babysitting experiences was in middle school. My family lived down their family. This family. I think I need to stop trying to read fast. Because I read faster. Okay, when I was a kid, I couldn't read at all out loud. But now I can read faster when I read aloud. And I fuck up sometimes. One of my earliest babysitting experiences was in middle school. The family lived down the street from me, and they were weird. The dad would work from home and stay upstairs while the kids were downstairs. One day we were playing house, and I was a dog who had to sleep on the day bed in their playroom. I lay down and the kids jumped on me while I was attempting to wrangle them off their friends, handcuffed me to the bed. They then proceeded to pull down my pants and start spanking me over and over. I was screaming. It was painful and they wouldn't stop. That's when I was thinking my salvation was here. Instead, the dad walked in, laughed at me, turned around and walked back upstairs. I finally got the handcuffs off me by kicking the kids as hard as I possibly could. Also, the family calculated I would get a check for like $22.47. Stuff like that. Fuck off. Never went back after this thing. A marriage meltdown. This happened a year after I graduated college. I was doing a favor for one of my mom's co-workers as I was in the awkward stages between undergrad and grad school and had time off. The wife had a baby about absolutely 3 years before and was looking to go back to work. She needed someone to watch the baby while she went to the coffee shop to work on resumes and applications. Well, they had bought the house and they were in the process of moving in. I was asked to get there and was always prompted every morning that the dad should just be getting out of the shower and would chat with me with a towel around his waist. That's how I met him the first time. Finally, after Ona would go to work and the mom would leave to go to the coffee shop. It went on for a few days. Soon discovered that the son was mentally handicapped. No biggie, keep kid. I also found out that... Hang on. Okay. I also found out from my mom's coworker that the wife was suffering from postpartum. The situation hit the fan when the mom left early one morning and was supposed to meet the dad at the house. I got there normal time. No one was there. their dad was supposed to drop the older kids off at daycare and meet me at the house. I didn't have the parents' number, so I emailed the mom while they're on, and no one showed up. Finally, I was about to leave, I got a call from the dad. He said he was about to pull up your ride, ended up complaining about his wife for over 3 hours. I learned about how she sucked and that they haven't been intimate in ages. Her postpartum was a year. He proceeded to pick up his son and tell him that it's okay that mommy doesn't love you. I love you enough. He kept saying that over and over, and then he proceeded to get mad at me for not contacting his wife, that he was late because she freaks out about everything and now will blame him for not being on time. Finally, he left for work after another awkward shower. I watched Project Runway on my phone while the kids slept. I have no clue why I stayed so long. I felt that this guy was going to begin to cry if I needed to leave. So I stuck around for an hour before he showed up because I thought the mom had snapped and killed her family. Since all the cars, I later found out the dad had borrowed his brother-in-law's car and the mom had walked to the coffee shop. Living nightmare. I only babysat once in my life and never again. I was 25, so I worked for a research group at university. The secretary was a nice lady and had a family emergency, so she had to leave town for the night. She was scrambling to try to find someone to cover her at home because her kids couldn't be left alone. They were 10 and 14. I felt bad for her. I lived just down the street and I didn't have plans, so I figured I'd be a big mistake. She was a single mom with 2 kids who she admitted were troubled. I had no idea how much until I tried to take care of them. The older kid had a date at the movie theater with some friend. His mother said this was okay, so I dropped him off. I spent the next couple of hours watching Super Troopers with the younger kid who told me that it was his favorite movie. So I thought the movie seemed questionable, like a lot of things. First, so let's start Easy Street. Easy Street. The movie theater called and told me that I'd have. They're starting off. Solid Start, Easy Street. The movie theater called me and told me that I'd have to come or they were going to call the cops. I hear him screaming something. I can't make out another on the other side. I should have let him go to jail. I called the mom, but I didn't answer. I didn't get an answer for the rest of the evening. It turns out the kid got into a fight with his friend during the movie theater and peed on him. The manager at the movies was upset because they'd have to clean up the pee. He wanted the damage paid for. I explained to the guy that I'm just having. He gave him the phone number. He said it with me, and since the kid had calmed down, I drove the kid back. I didn't know what to say to him. The ride was almost quiet until I got close to the house and smelled smoke. The 10-year-old had freaking lighter and tried to light back of the seat on fire. I should have called the cops at this point. But there was one of those deeper things that were fair and just be over soon. It never ended. I just wanted to watch Super Troop. They just wanted to watch and order pizza. I told them that it was late. I told them that their mom says no and that they told me that the mom never says no and that they were watching the movie. I wasn't sure exactly how to enforce anything with these kids, so I said fine, but no pizza. One of them went upstairs, ordered the pizza, and then he said he was going to use the washroom. I fell asleep. I woke up to one of the kids trying to rob me, pulling my wallet out of my pants, caught him trying to and he claimed he heard my cell phone ringing and was trying to answer it for me, which was stupid because my cell phone was in plain sight on the table in front of me. When the pizza arrived, I had no idea who was knocking at the door. I gave the kids
the kids failed to get money from giving the kids. He ran to the door, he grabbed the pizza, pushed the guy, and then slammed the door and locked the door. He told me that we had free pizza and that he won a contest or something. How did they know we wanted pizza? When the movie ended, they were just going to bed. And they were just going, great. I slept on the couch downstairs and actually didn't hear them until when I heard a scream cry, like someone got shot. That sounded like shots from upstairs. I ran up to see the 10-year-old crying, and smashing a hand into the door of the bedroom. It looked like the other doors, looked up and found one of them off its hinges, and there was something stuck on the ground, and it looked like hair face. It turns out the 14-year-old waited for his brother to sleep, and then poured a cup. He collected his pee on the kid's head, and then ran. The 10-year-old somehow ran through the door trying to get him, and the 14-year-old locked himself in the bathroom. I had to wrestle the hammer out of the young kid's hand. He was livid. He was going to kill his brother when he got out of the bathroom. Slept in the locked bathroom. We cleaned the 10-year-old's face and hair off in the sink in the kitchen because the kid would not come out. When we were cleaning him, we heard the door opening, and the 10-year-old tried to grab the knife in the kitchen and go up and presumably make that unnecessary. I managed to stop him, locked up all the knives and the other things. I found what looked like a weapon. I locked the knives up. I found what looked like a weapon in Mom's car. I told the 14-year-old to stay in the bathroom or he might die. Then I watched Super Troopers on an endless loop while the other kid passed out. I was too nervous to sleep. When the mom came home, I gave her the keys to the car and told her to ask her kids what happened because I couldn't relive it. The most dangerous tutoring. I took a job tutoring a kid in Germany, but the mother of the family thought that meant I was also babysitting young son as well. I kind of stumbled into the position, but he was attending a small private school and was required to take 2 years of foreign language. His mom mentioned that he had ADD and it would be hard for him to retake another year. He arranged with the school board that if he could take the national exam and pass, it would count as a second year. He was 16 years old and his family lived in a generous $2 million house in the most affluent neighborhood in the area. His dad owned some sort of African safari business, so they had all sorts of awesome stuff lying around. Ceremony, mass, seers, drums, animals, etc. I tutored him twice a week, every week. The mom thought I could be this and get a kid through high school. I tried to assign homework, but he refused to do it. I spent almost 3 weeks working with the thing. He should have learned in 20 minutes. That ended when I asked him to turn to a certain page in his textbook. He responded by ripping the page out, eating it. Later that week, his mom reprimanded me for it. Apparently, I should have set out a snack for her 12-year-old boy, for his 12-year-old brother, since I gave it another couple of weeks in the French room. When he got worked up and started jumping around, he ran around the kitchen and grabbed the detergent and threw it at me. I moved slightly, avoiding the spear, but it landed in the nice leather couch. It was a real spear, went straight through the couch, and I grabbed my bag and laptop and walked out. The mother didn't understand why I left. Putting words in his mouth at a crazy level. Okay. This movie, I was 17 years old and babysitting my best friend's little sister. It was summer. I didn't have a job, so I got drafted for $25 a day, which was was almost minimum wage at the time without income tax or to worry about. The little girl Laura was a precious little devil. She had a schedule she made up as made up a schedule to what happened and when it happened. I was about 3 weeks into doing this when the mom and dad wanted me to have a talk with me. They had my parents and were everything. They had my parents there and everything was. I was questions as to what I did with Laura, so I ran down the schedule, and she tacked it on a cupboard in her room. They kept throwing more questions at me and kept getting more and more personal, whether or not I touched myself. My dad held up his hand, and they better get to the problem or we're all leaving. My dad held up a hand and said they better get to the problem. And they said that while they were at a party with friends the night before, Laura brought it up that she wanted to see me beat off. I was flabbergasted. My mom nearly vapor locked, and my dad stared at the wall to count to 1,000. I had no idea what she was talking about. I never said those words in her presence, let alone performed the deed. They weren't interested in hearing anything but the full confession. My parents and I had left. I was certain the cops were going to come. The tensions around my house were very high, to say the least. The phone call came. My best friend had lost his job and was trying to keep his secret from his parents, so he taught his little sister to say that she wanted to touch myself so he wouldn't get booted, and he graciously offered to quit and make an easy money babysitting. All came out when I told them I wasn't allowed at their house anymore. They were hiring some girl. My best friend went on a rant on what morons they were and how he set the whole thing up, and they had to go mess it up by being idiots. Anyway, the upshot was no longer under, and I was no longer under, and I couldn't babysit anymore because they hired the girl to do it. I never saw or talked to that friend again. It wasn't that I avoided it. I actually went to looking for him to beat the crap out of him, but he just disappeared from town. Years later, I ran into Laura and asked her about and she realized that she remembered me. She said he had been shipped off to my grandma's house in Boulder City, and he never did actually amount to much. She said her mom and dad, she talked about her and how badly they treated me, and that she was sorry she was a part of it. It's not really big. I put an advertisement on a website of sorts, like Craigslist, advertising myself as a babysitter. I was desperate in need of a job. I paid £5, I think that's either pounds or euros, one of the two, to have the list stay out at the top search of the result, and the only answer I got was a call from nearby asking if I could babysit your children on a regular basis. He said that I would have to look after the children, also look after his wife. I didn't understand what he meant and asked if she was meant. She said no. She would get down sometimes and could use another female to talk to. I worked for a big company, and sometimes she had to deal with a lot of my clients. I work for a big company, and sometimes she had to deal with a lot of my clients could use advice. I don't get an answer for that. It's just things. We have a lot of younger men from overseas coming over, and she'll take them up to dinner or drink. She sometimes gets upset about it though. I caught on when he was pretty much selling his wife out and wanted me to console her, and pretty much said thanks but no thanks and hung up. He called me 3 times again that night and started to get worried. I took the ad down and slept with a knife beside my bed. Never again. You're such a... Okay, I get being afraid, but oh my god, what a wiener. Okay, he's not gonna come and kill you, lady. The parents were bodybuilders and had one daughter. I don't know what her name was because I heard them call her so many different things. Emma, Emmy, Emery, Avery, and one time Emerson. It was bizarre. Anyway, this kid would lose her mind unless I played bubble guppies on TV and constantly feed her cheese. I would usually try to distract her with any other sex, but she would only eat cheese. Her parents encouraged me to give her all the cheese she wanted. They said she was going through that stage where she only wants to eat cheese. I was concerned about the kids. For 2 years, I saw her eat cheese. She was constipated almost every time I babysat. One time, I ended up feeding her an entire block of cheese for 2 hours. I refused to babysit after that. The babysitter is a witch. My sister was a babysitter in this story. There were 2 little girls that lived down the street from us who we played with at the time. Their mom asked my sister to babysit over the summer since she turned 13. Each time my sister went over, she would keep them occupied with playing with their dolls and putting Disney movies on. One day, my sister found a sequel to Ariel, Little Mermaid, and the such movies. She'd never seen it and she wanted to watch it with the kids. The kids didn't. The sister said, "Okay, well, you guys can play with your dolls upstairs. I'll watch the movie in the finished basement. Let me know when you're hungry for lunch." They became suspicious after all. I quote, what the teenagers wanted to watch. They decided that she must be a witch and locked her in the basement and frankly could call my 9-year-old. The babysitter's a witch. You have to come home. We have trapped her in the basement. She's gonna hurt us. She's a witch. Mom, what? Unlock the basement. The 9-year-old cried, "She's a witch. You have to come home now." No. Okay, I'm coming home, but you have to let her out of the basement. My sister, meantime, was fuming that they were not hearing her screaming from the basement. When they finally unlocked the door, they were both armed with some holy household aids, starting to beat her with them until she pushed on some pressure points and dragged them kicking and screaming to their room. When the mom arrived to find the sister a distressed mess, she paid extra and apologetic and says, "You don't have to come back after today." Trying to keep Timmy alive is a full-time job. Oh, I don't even know why I'm still reading. Why am I still reading? Anyway, I'm gonna keep going, and this is the last one, I promise, by the way. When I worked at a summer camp, I had a kid, Timmy, who had some behavior he liked to hide. One time, he climbed all the way into the trash can with garbage in it for no reason. I tried to work with him on this behavior issue. One day, we took a field trip. Partway through, I took the kid. After we were done, I kind of realized we were one short. I wonder who it is. Oh no, Timmy, kids. Has anyone seen Timmy? The other kids nonchalantly, "Oh, he's over there in a locker." What do you mean he's in a locker? Museums sometimes have these small lockers that you can rent for like 50 cents. They were big enough for maybe a small jacket or two, so you can leave your coat in there or lunch in there. Timmy had gone full on contortionist and managed to squeeze himself butt first into the locker. It took me a second to realize that where his head was even at. I had to pull him out because he was stuck. That day, I went from trying to help Timmy manage this summer to keeping Timmy alive this summer. Even Mom knew the truth. One time, I babysat two little spoiled rich white girls. They told me I'm too short for my age and I'm bad at playing Barbies. My hair is ugly and screamed and cried bloody murder when I told them it was time for bed. And after I had let them, they hid the TV remote from me and called me a bully. They locked themselves in the other room saying they were going to tell Mom.
I was mean and screaming at them for no reason. When the mom came home and asked how they were, of course I said they were fine. She responded with, I know they're terrible. What did they do? I know they're terrible. Tell me what they did. When I was in high school, I was against babysitting. Well, my sister loved it. She would babysit for a family we were somewhat close to that had 2 young boys. They had also gotten a new Dalmatian puppy. One Saturday, my sister had agreed to babysit, and she realized she would be up late and asked my mom me to stand in for a few hours before she realized she would be late and asked me to stand in. I agreed and got to the house. Once the parents left, the 2 young boys started full-out fighting. They were punching each other in the face and going full force, attacking each other until the younger one was screaming in pain. While trying to get the older brother off the younger brother, the new puppy was sprinting around downstairs and vomiting everywhere. The entire kitchen floor was covered in his throw-up. As he smeared it around with his paws, I managed to pry apart the boys and spend the next hour picking up puppy puke. I left as soon as my sister got there and never babysat since. The switch. When I was a teenager in London, and generally pretty young and naive, I used to babysit for my neighbor who had a toddler. The toddler was fine. The first time I turned up there, the only parent I saw was the father. He explained to me that the mother was in America for work. He stuck around in the house with me for an hour before he left. He showed me where all the baby food was and everything else. At the same time, he was trying to intermediately to the phone. He was trying to intermediate a phone to the mother, but never getting through. The next time I turned up the baby, the mother answered the door in a leopard print dress gown. And a leopard print dress gown. The next time, when I got inside, I discovered the original guy had been replaced with a different American guy. Nobody said anything to me. I just rolled with it. That's it. Goodbye, guys.